what's going on, guys? It's Monday night, and we're going to take a break from our normal let's read a comic and then have a comic book related topic because, hey, at the time of this recording, it's December, it's the holidays. We're all freaking tired, and we decided why not go ahead and insert a break in the middle of all of our usual fun. We're just going to talk about some video games tonight. So tonight, we are rechristening Modern Men Video Game Men. So for those of you who like comics, we'll see you next week for Fantastic Four Unthinkable by Mark Waid, Mike Wieringo. The Great Legend Show will be in attendance, hopefully, for that. Because once he heard Fantastic Four, my phone rang and I had to pick up for the Great Legend. But tonight, we're going to be talking about video games. So let me introduce you guys to the panel. ComicManAndy. Holy crap, it's like blousing out now. So, Andy, how's the beard?
No longer in 8-bit. We're coming at you guys in 16-bit tonight. 16 inches here.
Yeah, it looks like you certainly got some blast processing going on that beard. But you know what? Genesis does what Nintendo, and Drew, I don't know if your beard's doing that or not. But Drew,
it's exactly what it's doing. I mean, Andy like 16 inches on his chin. Mine's a little bit more modest. But, look, it's the holiday season, okay? So whoop-de-doop and hickory-dock, don't forget to hang up your sock because Santa Claus is going to be coming around and putting video games in your stocking, baby. It's just about that time. This is the best time of year for me, Carson, because all those AAA titles come out in the fall. And I can't afford them all. But then they got dropped to half price, and I play them after Christmas. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the best time of year. I agree 100%. Just to do some gaming. It gets cold outside and rainy, and you just don't want to go outside anymore. So you want to stay inside. And when you eventually watch, Empire Strikes Back for the 100th time, or Lord of the Rings for the 200th time, you're going to turn on them video games and have fun with the kids, or they're going to hog the video games. But before we get into all the fun questions, like what's your favorite generation or video game of all time, I just want to know what you guys are gaming on right now. So, Andy, I know I've got you hooked, full hook, line, and sinker into The Last of Us. So, Andy, how's your experience been going with that?
It's been going quite well, actually. Running a PS4 Pro still at the moment. And took a long break from computer games to get back into console gaming because of a decent price on a used PS4 Pro and really nice upgrade to 4K gaming, and that is worth it. I waited way too long, but the prices were too good to pass up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know for The Last of Us, that's your first time playing it, right?
Yeah, that was my first playthrough recently, and I'm getting ready to start a second playthrough. Told myself I want to do that a couple more times before I do The Last of Us #2, which just came out this year as well.
Now, did you at least get a chance to purchase Last of Us 2 before, I guess it probably is still on sale at a few places.
It might be on sale for a few different places, but I noticed one thing. Physical disc copies are half the price online.
They sure are.
Than the streaming or the content, the downloadable content.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Drew? You like to do yourself some gaming.
Look, man, I've been playing a lot of Warzone. The people of Verdansk need my help. I drop in, I steal their money, I shoot people in the face. And the best thing about Call of Duty Warzone is it's absolutely free. That's the kind of gaming I like to do these days. Absolutely free. I've been playing a little bit of Overwatch here and there still. I keep updating that game. Last night I was like, you know what? I need some blow my mind, blow my mind. And so I put in WWE 2K19 and yeah, it no longer has support, so we can't play that online anymore.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
When
I turned it on
happen?
I don't know, very recently. Yeah, I played a little bit of my creative character for a little while. Got on the sticks, played some beat 'em ups in the wrestling ring. I very much have been enjoying the Jedi Fallen Order, which is just hard and unforgiving. So I play a little bit of that at a time. I think maybe I'm sacrificing on the story, but I enjoy kind of the die your way through that game mechanic they've got, where you kind of have to learn Dark Souls style how to beat your enemies, and Tetris, the Tetris effect.
Oh, that's
multiplayer Tetris where you create the soundtrack as you play the game, and it's very immersive. You hit your Jonah Hex, get your headphones on, and get your Tetris on. So, like, as of right now, that's about it. When the legend wants to saddle up and ride, we play a little bit of Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, I haven't hopped on Avengers yet. That'll be a post-Christmas purchase for me, along with probably Cyberpunk if that drops in price, because everybody's saying how terrible it is. So we'll see. We'll see if that game gets a couple patches and drops in price, and maybe I'll get to play that one as well.
Yeah, Drew, I think you just ruined my day, man. I didn't know they stopped support on WWE.
Oh, man, they did.
That's devastating. So, gone are the days of Gulak versus Corbin loser leaves town matches.
I want to wait till we're all in the same place and just play on a console.
That's truly devastating to me. But yeah, I mean, the Red Dead Redemption 2 online stuff, we've been having a blast with that when we have time, which unfortunately is rare nowadays. But pretty much like around September, October, I know me, you, the Great Legend, and Chad, when we can get them on there as well. We pretty much were the four horsemen of the apocalypse, running around wrecking poor random people as they were.
The Man in Black, man. Man in Black.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's been kind of my favorite part about playing games this year, is mostly playing games with you guys. It's easy to get a foursome together on something.
Yeah.
Whereas like all my IRL friends we're all on different schedules, so it's really hard to get together and game, and that's been awesome. And also just like the co-op nature of a lot of online games kind of forces you to work with other people and make friends. So I've made a lot of friends in the like Call of Duty Warzone, where now I can hop on and have a crew of people where I can just pick up and play, which is nice.
And then I did get a chance to play that Tetris Effect game because I think it's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And holy crap, if you're susceptible to seizures, stay far away. Far away from that game. Holy crap.
Like,
but it was a really cool experience. I got to play with
the Japanese cartoon from The Simpsons.
Yeah. Right. They put the fake Pokemon. But yeah, I've had actually a lot of fun gaming this year. I did a little bit of the Nintendo Switch stuff. With their latest incarnation of Pokemon. I played that earlier this year. They've been slowly updating it so you can get your previous legendaries into the newer game, which I don't know why they didn't have that launch ready, I guess, last year, but hey, it is what it is. You can get them there now, and they got the Pokemon Bank functionality again, and that's all cool. So getting a chance to get my Pokemon Diamond overpowered characters into the new game makes the newer game a hell of a lot easier, is all I know. My game of the year was probably The Last of Us Part 2, actually. I don't want to talk too much about it because this guy over here is eventually going to play it, and I don't want to spoil too much, but I definitely respect the storyline decisions they made. Graphically, the game is absolutely beautiful. Sound-wise, is phenomenal. I think that game actually deserves the hype it's gotten. A lot of people disagree for one reason or another. Not going to go into all of that, obviously, because a lot of it has to do with the storyline. But the gameplay, I think it's my favorite gameplay in a long time. Actually, when I got my PlayStation 5, which I'll talk about that here in a second, I was actually able to import my entire PS4, like literally games, saves, everything into the PS5. So the first thing I did, I'm like, I wonder if I could just pick up my New Game Plus of Last of Us 2 I had going. And it's like I had the PS4, except obviously the better performance of half the load times and stuff. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I ended up just playing it for an hour.
Nice.
Because I really wanted to get into the controls. But yeah,
what system did you play this on?
I played it on the PlayStation 5, Drew.
Oh, he's big time, bro.
So yeah, I actually, luckily for me, I had the day off when they had their big press conference revealing the PlayStation 5 price tag. And I was just like, I wonder if they're actually going to talk about, when you're going to be able to pre-order these from retailers. So I went to Cheap Ass Gamer on Twitter, cheapassgamer.com. That's where I usually go to find most of my deals. But they actually were already posting, like, Walmart has the PlayStation 5 for sale. Amazon has a link here. GameStop has their link. And then I'm like, I don't really know if I want a new generation console because there wasn't tons to play. Like, besides Miles Morales Spider-Man, like, there was nothing I really needed. But then I saw, like, Sam's Club has PlayStation 5 for sale. Link put up 1 second ago. I click it. It let me buy it. I'm like, I guess I'm getting a PlayStation 5 then. And I had no idea the availability was going to be this poor on the PlayStation 5.
You should have sold it.
Yeah, you're probably not
You
wrong.
could have had 3 of them in March and started juggling them.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong, but the sucker in me, I was like, I got a new console, I'm gonna open it. Like that's the way I am. So yeah, I got PlayStation 5 about a week after launch is when it shipped, and Miles Morales is the main game I've been playing this, November and December, and that game, I mean, it might be better than the first Spider-Man. It's not as large or as long as that game, obviously. That's why, it's got the cheaper price point. I guess I felt like they didn't put enough work in to justify like the full $60 price tag for just Miles Morales. But to me, it was just as much of work as when they made Grand Theft Auto Vice City back in the day, where you got Grand Theft Auto 3. And then a year later, they released Vice City, which is basically it's got better soundtrack, slightly better controls,
Better weapons, better music.
Yeah, and everything's just slightly better.
Everything
I wouldn't even call the
shiny.
graphics that much better.
They are.
To be honest. They're a little better, but not much.
Explorable buildings that you can actually go kind of in a lot of the buildings in Vice City, which you couldn't in 3. But
so that's how I kind of considered it. Like I felt the game I thought performed a little better. They're a little less lenient with the tutorial stuff, so like you can just come out swinging basically in this game, and it feels natural. Like the controls have not taken a dip, the quality's not taken a dip, the gameplay is probably even more fun because in that first one, I'll admit it, I died quite a bit just learning how to fight as Peter, because a lot of it I felt like is based on gameplay from Arkham City and the Batman games.
But the buttons are reversed.
Yeah, exactly. So
I just played through Arkham Knight again before I played Spider-Man. And it was like, I thought the game sucked for like the first 10, 15 minutes of combat. I was like, oh no, it's just me hitting the wrong buttons. As soon as I stopped and broke myself of the Arkham habit, I was doing very well with it. But then I went back and played Arkham, like the challenge modes, and I was like not doing well at all. I feel like they should remap the buttons Arkham style. But
yeah, in Arkham, like Batman does hit with some brute force, whereas Spider-Man basically does not. He's just more like hit and
you gotta stick and move.
And you have to stick exactly. You have to dodge, hit basically in a lot of interactions. But Miles, he has cloaking capability. He has electric power. He's so much more overpowered than Peter in that game. So I think that's why
Spider-Man.
So I think that's why it feels like the game is easier to play, and you can get through it faster, in my opinion. They don't mess around with power-ups in this game. So I really enjoyed that. And then I moved on to the God of War, the PS4 version, and because they had, when you get the PlayStation 5, you get the PlayStation Plus collection or whatever. You get like 25 games they just throw at you for free because it's like we're sorry we have minimal launch titles. Have all these games to tide you over until we get some real games out. So I got Uncharted 4 downloaded in my queue. I'm slowly playing through God of War. And then I did get Cyberpunk 2077. It was on sale already on Amazon before it even came out. So I'm like, I may as well go ahead and get it. It's not full price. And I don't really have an opinion on it yet because I've barely scratched the surface. But so far, I am having a little bit of trouble getting into it. I'll be honest. But
Did you name your character Batista?
Why did I do that?
I was just wondering, how big is Batista?
Yeah, that's the thing you can do in that game. But yeah, the main character's name is V. So I'm like, are we playing a V for Vendetta game here? Whatever. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm gaming on now. Oh, and then Astro's Playroom. I didn't talk about that one. That's the pack-in title for the PlayStation 5. If you guys actually do get lucky enough out there to get a PlayStation 5 for Christmas, whatever, do not sleep on Astro's Playroom. It is a very fun platformer with a ton of classic PlayStation Easter eggs inserted. That's pretty much the whole game is PlayStation Easter egg. So it's a blast. So if you guys do get a PS5, I highly recommend turning on Astro's Playroom. Plus, I got a platinum trophy.
Love platformers. Underutilized these days.
Yeah, I mean the 3D platformer has to be a work of art or it's a train wreck, one or the other. So I think that's why we don't see a ton of them made. But I guess, while we're talking about video games, some of the questions I wanted to pose to you guys is, do you guys have a favorite gaming generation? Like whether it be like your 8-bit NES, Sega Master System era, the old Atari days, the Super Nintendo era with Genesis, 64. Drew, is any of this stuff relevant to you?
For me, it's got to be Xbox 360.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think that is probably the widest array of games that we've gotten, from genre to peripherals to just about anything you can do to turn your gaming machine also into a entertainment center in your home. I think it was the most versatile machine that I ever had. I really like the Xbox One. I think the PS4 Pro is a fantastic gaming rig. But that Xbox 360, man, had the best games. Like I kind of dreaded getting rid of mine because I was still using it as a Rock Band machine.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, and the Kinect. Say what you will about it, but when I got the Kinect for Christmas, me and my kid, we got our freaking value out of that thing. Just based off of demos we would play of other games, like fantastic technology that just really didn't last. But you're talking about an era where PlayStation 3, that was the time when the network got hacked and there was not a lot of security, and the online system for PlayStation was not optimized. You got the Wii and the Wii U, which did not compare as gaming machines by any means. And the 360 was just really the king of that generation, man. Beyond that, I loved the Nintendo 64 with all of my heart. That was the probably the biggest couch co-op, couch versus like game console of my life. I mean, Super Nintendo was great. You know, Sega Genesis was great. Master System and NES were great. PlayStation had its things going on for it, but like the Nintendo 64, man, the weird ass boomerang with the penis controller, and for some reason it was just so great and everything worked perfectly. You had really great wrestling games as well. I think overall it's got to be the 360.
Yeah, I mean, every point you just hit, I actually agree with wholeheartedly. I was thinking about the answer to the question myself before we started the show, and I feel like the Xbox 360 generation was like the last truly great generation, because everything, in my opinion, since then has just really just tried to add on a little bit to that. Whereas like back in the day, like the 360 and I guess kind of even the PS3, that's the one that really revolutionized online gaming, in my opinion. I mean, you could go back a generation behind that and talk about how the Xbox and I guess the PS2 with the hard drive on it really kind of started online play, but it was very, I mean, especially the PlayStation 2 side, it was very rough to play online.
Well, Halo 2 was probably the first game that really blew up online multiplayer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure, yeah.
But I mean, I think the fact that you pretty much launched the 360 with Halo 3, and you just picked up where it left off.
Yeah, and then just like the 360 generation's truly like you bought a multiplayer game expecting that to be online, whereas the previous generation you did not get that, obviously.
Right. I remember the 360 generation, like towards the end, if you got a game and it had couch co-op, you're like, this is weird. Why'd they put this in here?
Right. It was almost like a Nintendo thing to do at that point.
Right. And I just remember trying to play 360 games with like split screen just to try to figure it out with a friend or my brother come over, or, try to teach my kid how to play something. And it was never successible.
Right.
You didn't have that full screen, but
yeah, like even going back now and playing a game like GoldenEye, it's like, split screen.
Right.
Whereas back in there, like, yeah, let's do some split screen on like a 19-inch square TV. You were ready to have your 4.5 inches of screen to dominate these other people. But I guess my answer truly to that question, I mean, it is a tough one because you hit a lot of great points, but I think for me, just from a nostalgia factor, especially the Super Nintendo generation, maybe my favorite, just because it's hard to replicate how fun it was just going to your mom and pop rental stores and getting a chance to rent a game for the weekend. It's Friday afternoon, you're out of school, you get to go to there's this place called Old Town Video. It had the video
Video.
three times. It was like an echo, but it had the video name posted 3 times for whatever reason. Who knows? But it was this giant ass rental store, and they had an entire wall of Super Nintendo, and it was amazing. So it was just like, what new game came out this week? You didn't know. You didn't have the internet to look. So like it encouraged you to explore all of these new games and old games you had never heard of. And heck, like if you still had an NES, you might be able to get a deal on renting the old NES games, or if they're selling off their old stock. So it's just like you never really knew what to expect, and you can't really replicate that nowadays. But yeah, when you go past the 16-bit era, you get to that like awesome N64 PS1 era, which that pretty much revolutionized couch co-op. Like that was the first time, and you can even throw the Dreamcast in that category. That's where they stopped messing with these multi-taps, and you actually got the 4 controller ports on front of the console, with the exception of the PlayStation 1, of course. They didn't quite figure that one out yet. But I really enjoy, playing the wrestling games with people. Like that's one that I love playing locally instead of online. I mean, it's great playing with you guys online, but sometimes just picking your character with your buddy next to you, and you're just like, really, you picked like Juventud Guerrera,
right? And when Juventud makes you tap out, and you're just like, how the hell did that happen? I'm the Undertaker.
Right.
You can throw your beer at your friend.
Yeah, so I definitely love that generation as well. But yeah, I mean, we can keep going. But Andy, I want to hear, do you have a favorite console generation?
I do, and it's got to be for me the PlayStation 1. That was wholeheartedly the first system I ever waited in line for to pick up, the first pre-buy type of situation. And it's the first console that I actually pre-purchased a game and waited in line for, which was Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, nice.
Actually skipped school that day to pick that title up. And I guarantee you, Final Fantasy VII probably is the reason why I was a B average student graduating high school instead of an A average, because that was the game I stayed up till 2-3 o'clock in the morning every night, religiously playing over and over and over for a very, very long time. And I discovered that actually our family had that ritual to go to Blockbuster Friday night, pick up pizza next door at the Little Caesars, pick up a title at Blockbuster. And back then they used to put all those consoles up for playing. You used to be able to walk up to a screen and be able to have the controllers dangling out on a little dangly thing, and you used to play a title. And they were previewing Resident Evil, and I fell in love with that, and that's what made me buy the PlayStation. And that's why when you suggested Last of Us, I'm so addicted to, because Last of Us is everything I wanted the original Resident Evil to be, as far as graphics and story and everything going on. Because Resident Evil is fun, but granted, it wasn't like perfect by any means back then. You always wanted a little bit more. We wish they could push the envelope a little harder, and they're finally there. But it's got to be PS1 for me. That's what and me and my sister and I grew up playing Crash Bandicoot constantly as kids together. Those couch sessions playing Crash Bandicoot forever are one of the reasons why Crash Bandicoot's got such an amazing following. And the original sealed copy of Crash Bandicoot is actually worth a lot of money now.
Oh, wow, really?
If I remember correctly. Yeah, and you find those graded, they're worth even more. And Crash Bandicoot's been remade however many times, and PlayStation's greatest hits. But yeah, it's got to be PS1 for me. And I've even had a PS2 when it first came out. And between PS2 and now, I took a serious break from console gaming and went strictly PC gaming, because the online gameplay was so much better back then compared to console online gaming.
Now, I was going to say the PlayStation 1 era, that was like the time where I think myself included, just the world fell in love with RPGs and JRPGs. Like when Final Fantasy hit big with Final Fantasy VII, that's when people really started paying attention to these role-playing games. And especially the PS1 games, like you had that like awesome trilogy of the PlayStation where we had 7, 8, and 9. And a lot of people don't like 8, but I still hold that like that first disc of Final Fantasy 8 is pretty awesome, I think. Unfortunately, it's a 4-disc game, and each disc goes further downhill. So like 2's not bad. Then you get to disc 3. It's like how are they all in the same orphanage? It gets weird.
Well, I mean, I grew up playing the Final Fantasy series throughout Nintendo and the other consoles,
Nice.
and then so when you got to 7 was earth shattering as a Final Fantasy fan.
Absolutely.
And that's where that game the Final Fantasy 7 is why I went out and bought a PS4 Pro when I found out that they updated it. Not updated it.
Yeah, the remaster.
Remastered so you can play it on an HD TV. Because I bought an original PS2 to backwards compatible to play the PS1 Final Fantasy 7 sitting there on an old CRT screen last year, and I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And I wasn't paying attention to console gamings, and you guys turned me on to the fact that PS4 Pro they've been starting to do the remastered editions of a lot of stuff. You can have the thing downloaded in 5 minutes, and I've been playing it nonstop again.
But yeah, there's some other good ones. Like I remember really liking the Suikoden games.
Oh yeah,
on PlayStation 1.
Castlevania Symphony of Night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Symphony of the Night was great for sure. But I mean, I did a lot of gaming on the 64 was my console of choice during that era. And besides the wrestling games, I actually have like a box collection over there. Like I feel like when 7 hit, that was earth shattering to people. But for me, the most earth shattering game of the era is probably Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Ooh, yes.
Like when that thing hit, it hit. And that's like when that game came out, and even like Final Fantasy 7, that's when like gaming websites were starting to become a thing, and you could actually go online instead of having to buy magazines like GamePro and Nintendo Power to like actually view screenshots. And I remember like having like, oh, when's Ocarina of Time come out? Then it got delayed to like 1997. And then I was devastated in the whole year 96, but it was well worth the wait on that one.
Oh, I played the Game Boy version of that for ever.
The Game Boy Advance?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, they had Rogue Squadron was the other game that I really enjoyed, non-wrestling. They actually had a couple good Star Wars games on the 64. You had Rogue Squadron, and then Shadows of the Empire was really good, too. Where you get
Shadows of the Empire was great.
Yeah.
Even the Star Wars Pod Racer game, that was good. Good racing game.
Oh, yeah, that's great. People love that game in my grade school, for sure.
It was better than it had any right to be, being a pod racing game. I think for 64, though, the thing that really grabbed me beyond GoldenEye, which was like everybody had to play GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
It was a step up that Mario Kart got. You know, it was the step up that we got with Mario and being 3D and 64, which is like, now I can't imagine Mario only being 2D. But at the time, it was just like, wait, I can do a backflip. Wait, I can do a triple jump. No, I mean, I would hear Yahoo in my dreams.
Yep.
and I just played that game so much. But I think my favorite game to play on that 64 when it first came out was NBA Hang Time. And me and my brother would just brutalize each other over and over again with this just updated arcade level graphics for this NBA Jam clone. It was just so much fun. I remember also as well, I loved Ocarina of Time, but I thought that Majora's Mask was so much more fun as a game. It was just so much more quirky and Japanese and as basically a mod of Ocarina of Time.
Right.
It was the same exact graphics, same exact engine. They're just like, we're going to make you turn into a Deco Bulb, you know, or we're going to make you turn into, you know, a Gorgon Rocks monster or whatever. And the fact that you were always switching characters and abilities was super duper fun to me. And I thought that the dungeons were really well designed, really fun stuff.
Oh, and I think one of the best upgrades from Super Nintendo 64 had to be Star Fox. Star Fox 64, I think, is the definitive Star Fox game still to this day. Unfortunately, like every time they make one now, they got to have like a platforming level where Fox gets out of the ship. Don't take those little characters out of those ships. People want to play Star Fox to fly around and shoot things. Like, and for some reason, they still like have not made a better version of Star Fox than Star Fox 64, in my opinion.
I thought you said the Superman game was better.
That brings me to my next question. Have you guys ever paid full price and got a game pre-order you're so hyped for, got it home, and it just crushed your soul? Because
Uh-oh. Here we go. He's bringing the heat.
He's
This is my
bringing it.
answer.
Oh. Ouch.
I don't know why I still have this, but this is an original launch day copy of Superman 64. And I can tell you from personal experience, it lives up to the shit hype. This game sucks. It's terrible. Never buy it. Don't pay $1 for it. Me and my brother paid $60 for it. We wanted our money back that same day. And video games being the way they are, if they're open, they're yours. It's not fun.
I had there were quite a few over the years, and I always try to erase them from my mind. Because you pick up a game and it's not what you want it to be, and it's not what you think it should be. You already have other games to play. I would never dwell on that, which is surprising considering my personality. But it's like, well, I guess this one's a turd. And that happened all the time with licensed games. Like anytime, and still to this day, that is the thing that's making me wait till it's $15 to play the Avengers. Because licensed games are normally crap. So the Captain America game was it Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
It's just like a side-scrolling
One
beat 'em
of
up.
those LJN beat 'em ups. Yeah, those LJN games are garbage.
I loved all those
Spider-Man.
Star Wars games.
Oh, those were great. They're just really hard.
They are tough.
Yeah.
I think I had a couple of Nintendo games that didn't live up to the package hype. Like you look at the package you're buying with your eyes when you're a kid. But I think more importantly, it had to have been, I think Diablo 3
Oh, okay.
just wasn't the game that, like, when I went into Diablo 3, like, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to get to relive my experiences with Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 on the PC, but in a newer title with better graphics, and it just was like not haphazardly thrown together. It just didn't live. The storyline didn't live up to it, and the button mashing that I loved from the first two just wasn't there and wasn't as streamlined as much as you'd like. Because Diablo 1 was probably one of the biggest smash hit computer games of its time, and it brought so many people to online gaming. That was actually one of the first times I remember actually spending money online for a virtual item. That was huge back then, and that was when Chinese or foreign farmers, fake currency farmers, became a big thing in video games, running around and farming currency and turning around and selling virtual currency online. That was a big deal in the early 2000s. That, I think, was probably the biggest game that didn't live up to the hype that I hoped it would. It was Diablo 3.
I think probably if I had to name one, it would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES, because I played that arcade game all the time, and I expected it to be badass.
Treading on thin ice here.
It's that top-down garbage nonsense.
But still,
it was terrible.
I like turtles.
I like turtles. That's
actually kind of to your point, Drew. That's almost another pick for me. Even though the game's probably not bad in retrospect, but when I was a kid, I was kind of disappointed. That was the first one, obviously, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters.
Wow.
Because, like, if you think about it, like, at least the first one was a platformer. It was very challenging to the point where, and that water level, my God, I hate water levels. We could talk about that here in a few if we want to, but water levels suck. But at least you had Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, which was amazing on the NES. Teenage Mutant Ninjas 3 on the NES, another great game. Doesn't get enough love. And then Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. It's like, how are you going to follow up Turtles in Time? What is Turtles 5 going to be? What kind of crazy side-scrolling fun action are we going to get for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 5, the video game? They give us Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighter. It's a tournament fighter with turtles and shredders in there. It's kind of cool, and a bunch of characters you never heard of, and Wyatt Wingnut. And at the end of the day, like, why do I need a Street Fighter clone when I already have like 12 versions of Street Fighter? So I didn't understand that as a kid. I guess, looking back, if you played it today, it'd probably be fun, like, with a buddy. But it's just like, I don't understand why they gave us a fighting game and invested their time and money into that instead of just giving us a sequel to Turtles in Time. So as a kid, I was pretty
Agreed.
disappointed in that. I was just like, yeah, another Turtles game. This is going to be great. We've got one almost every year. This is going to be bigger and badder than ever. And then you get a fighting Street Fighter clone.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Actually, I'm still disappointed now. Could you imagine playing like something better than Turtles in Time? Because I couldn't.
No. I like when they remade Turtles in Time, but I don't like that they didn't use the original music, man.
I know that was half the charm was just gone. It's just like take that game and drain the soul out of it because that has still one of the best gaming soundtracks.
So I downloaded it and I didn't know that it didn't have the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And so I'm like halfway through it. I'm like, this game just isn't the same.
I know. I thought the same thing. Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know if am I remembering this wrong? And then I read the soundtrack was changed. I was like, oh well.
Yeah, they didn't have the rights. Especially once you get to those later levels, like the train level and the pirate level, the music is just so good on those spots, and it's just like I don't want to keep playing because like, it just didn't have the same magic as the original.
Video game music is a different topic altogether.
Yeah.
What would you guys say is your favorite video game soundtrack of all time?
Metal Gear Solid.
That's a good one. Like I actually I subscribe to the Amazon Music service, and they actually do have some game soundtracks hidden in there you can download. And I actually made a playlist, and I got like 3 or 4 Metal Gear tracks on there. And especially like once you get to Metal Gear Solid 4, which Andy, if it's backwards compatible somehow on your system, I highly recommend it.
So I think it's downloadable because I think 5 was the crap. 5 was the crap when they turned into a Survivor type of game that everybody hated. But I digress.
Yeah, I've heard mixed react. I have a buddy who loves 5; it's his favorite one. And I have another buddy who hates it. But yeah, that's a ton. But like soundtrack wise, like I'd probably have to go back to Final Fantasy VII. Like
that's actually a really good point.
I like the soundtrack better than the game, honestly. Like I think. In terms of like my favorite Final Fantasy game, I think it's still Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo, which is another, once again, amazing soundtrack. Like, was it Nobu Uematsu, I think is the composer? Something like that. I probably butchered his name, but he had a series of soundtracks throughout like that era. All of them are amazing. Like from Final Fantasy 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, and 10. He did pretty much all of those, and they're all amazing. But if I had to pick one of his soundtracks that's the best, it would probably be 7. Just from that point, you get the theme of like the opening theme, the bombing mission is amazing. The Genova theme is great. And then they hit you with One Winged Angel, which I listened to
Nobody kicks out of the One Winged Angel.
No. But they had like this, you can actually buy it on like iTunes. I think the Amazon service has it, where you can download like a full orchestra version of Final Fantasy VII, and they saved One Winged Angel for last, and the crowd's just pretty much chanting for like Sephiroth at that point. And then they play it and it's done. They actually have to do an encore of One Winged Angel because the crowd was so into it.
That's dope. I would say that, I mean, even tonight at dinner, we're sitting at the dinner table. My niece is kind of acting up a little bit. So I'm like, let's put on some music for her. What did I pull up on my phone? Super Mario World. From Super Nintendo. 16-bit audio is the best you're ever going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And that soundtrack is just so versatile. And the fact that if you've got Yoshi, the soundtrack changes. You get that. Dude, so great. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, there's also like the Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo had some awesome soundtrack too. Just there's some great ambiance.
Castlevania games.
Castlevania game. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too.
Yep.
So amazing.
Especially like Simon's Quest. No one likes that game, but the music in that's so good. Yeah, that was Castlevania 2. It's got this one bloody tears on it. Yeah, the first one's great. I mean, they're all really great. Like Symphony of the Night is really good in its own way as well. Especially since it was like 32 bits, but somehow it still felt like a full orchestra going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
very impressive stuff.
Speaking of some of these titles, you know what I'm completely upset about right now is why I can't download any of these great games on the PS4 network or the PlayStation network at all. Like I told you the other night while we were talking about this, there are 0 Turtles games available for download.
Yeah.
the PlayStation Store. There's zero incredible arcade games like $3, $4, $5. I don't care if I've got a hankering to sit there and bang out a game for like 3 or 4 hours from my previous experiences on another console. Why they're not making those available for immediate download? I'm finding them on these little like console boxes where they've all put them on one card, like 1,000 some odd games or something like that. But I don't want that. I just want one system.
Yeah, unfortunately,
You want to buy an overpriced emulator?
It's all about the money. Like if you want to buy like all those titles, like Konami owns the rights. I think they probably still own the rights to Turtles. I don't know, but they own the rights to the games because they published them back in the day. Therefore, anytime Konami releases anything like Castlevania, Ninja Turtles, which is probably in development rights hell because I think Nickelodeon technically has a claim on the property now, and who knows what Eastman and Laird have? Probably not much to Viacom and Nickelodeon. On top of this big corporate Konami now that wants more money than quality games, therefore Hideo Kojima not being a part of them anymore. That's why we probably won't see a re-release of Turtles anytime soon on anything. So it's very unfortunate, but unfortunately it is what it is. And at least Square Enix, they've been milking the crap out of their properties. Like you can pretty much download Final Fantasy VII on your phone now, I think, and play it. Like you can pretty much download that on any console. Like it's even on Game Pass right now on Xbox, I think, at this time. And pretty much every PlayStation console since the PlayStation 3, you can buy it on there. But yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of money and a lot of hands in the honeypot, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's just way too many amazing games that you just can't get a hold of at all without going back to the original equipment.
Last good Turtles game I bought or I played was, I believe, 360. That was it was kind of like a top down almost.
Oh yeah,
3D beat 'em up kind of game, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, you're gonna have to go get one of those stand up arcade machines from the Target.
I've got a place not far from here, less than a couple hours away, that the guy refabs and resells and rents them. And
it's getting original at this point,
dude. If I could get a cabinet for the dual screen cabinet for the old X-Men side scroller,
that'd be great.
I'd be all about it.
I like those little one-up deals that people are able to get, the little miniature cabinets, and they're kind of neat. But at that price point, I might as well just continue saving and going for an original.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I guess we can talk about arcades for a second, but I remember how mind blown I was when I first saw that X-Men cabinet. It was like the 6-player,
Mm-hmm.
and it was 2 screens, and it just looked like insanity to me at the time. So that was definitely like one of my top arcade cabinets I've ever wanted. Don't know what I'd do with one if I had it. It'd probably have to sit in the garage because of space and room, but it'd still be a phenomenal piece to the collection.
Yeah, I definitely want some cabinets at some point, but again, where the hell am I going to put the damn thing?
Yeah,
and how am I going to get 5 people to come over to play? That's the big deal there.
Yeah.
Really.
Go ahead, Andy.
My favorite cabinet is still going to be the original Turtles arcade. All those memories of going into the local Pizza Hut once a week and pumping a ton of quarters into that. And second would be the Terminator 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The one with the gun?
Yep.
That was awesome.
We had a really good Street Fighter scene in my area.
Nice.
You would go up to the arcade, and there would always be kids there playing Street Fighter. So that really sticks out in my head. I loved that X-Men arcade machine so much that they have one in Walt Disney World. There's a little arcade after you get off Space Mountain, and I'm not even sure if it's still there. 3 years ago, it was still there. And I would leave Space Mountain and put at least $30 in the X-Men machine. And to the point where my ex-wife was like, we got to go ride other things. I'm like, go. Like, this is why I'm here. Bring me a hot dog. I'm going to need it. Beyond that, in my home arcade at home, no longer exists. It was like Street Fighter. I really was a big fan of Time Crisis.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
With the gun where the slide would move when you pulled the trigger and you get a feedback. Something about that was so incredible to me.
That was one of the big release titles for PS2, if I remember.
I had a gun for PS2 with the slide that worked. But I had 2 games for it. I had Time Crisis 2 and I had some, House of Horrors shoot vampires thing.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
But it was badass.
Yeah, it's
but
like
I love that the concept of having a hide and reload button.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what my top 5 like most wanted cabinets would be. It'd probably be like that X-Men one, probably a Simpsons one would have to be had.
Simpsons, dude, that was right next to the Ninja Turtles in the bowling alley where we plays kids.
The Turtles in Time. I kind of want to put MK2 on there, Mortal Kombat 2. For me, that was like the height of fighting games.
I can never pull off any fatalities in the arcade.
Yeah, that was tough.
With the joystick, it was just too. It was like as soon as I got a control pad at home, I was a golden god. But like MK, it was like forward, down. It wasn't as circular motions that you could use in the Street Fighter games.
Right.
So I was more of a Street Fighter kid than an MK kid for sure.
No, I kind of was too back in the day, but I grew to love Mortal Kombat like the older I got. And then probably like my other one would probably be like, I don't know, one of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, maybe even X-Men versus Street Fighter, because that was like one of the last arcades before my local arcade shut down that they had. And I just could not believe that like these 2 universes were intersecting. And boy, they have a rich history going after that.
I love that. I thought that but my favorite thing about Mortal Kombat is that it just lessened the line to play Street Fighter. It's like, oh, those kids want to play Mortal Kombat instead. Good. Less of a line for me to play Street Fighter.
And of course, there was an Aerosmith shooter game too. Was it Revolution? That was stupid fun. That one never had a line. But I did enjoy that.
And arcades are becoming a bigger thing again. Where I live in Michigan, the thing to do is to go visit a brewery, and if that brewery has an arcade setup, basically you sit there and just pump those machines full of quarters.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? Let's have one more round. Let's have another pint. Next thing you know, you're like 4 later, and we're gonna have to come back again because
they're not stupid, Andy. They realize if you're willing to pay $12 for IPA, then you're willing to put a couple quarters in the machine while you're drinking.
Well, I mean, they're getting the original cabinets remade, and they're getting the good games. That Simpsons game, the Turtles game at my local watering hole, we have lifetime club memberships there because of the fact that they do pinball tournaments there. I'm a big pinball fan.
Oh yeah.
And they keep probably 12 original cabinets that I think they rent from a local company, and they rotate them out occasionally, one at a time, but they keep the good titles in there for a reason.
Oh, absolutely. Whoever thought of the barcade, like, cheers 10,000 times over. That's a phenomenal idea. And it's definitely causing, I think, a little bit of a resurgence in arcades to the point where, like, there's still a couple cabinets being developed here and there that's probably their core market is like, can we get these in barcades and people won't destroy them, basically. And one of my favorite things to do when I go visit my buddies in Chicago, God forbid, hopefully I'll be able to do that again. But, was going to those barcades and, grabbing Drew's $12 IPA and losing all of my quarters in these machines.
I think that I actually invented the barcade because we used to one of us would grab a bottle of bourbon before we went in the arcade and we'd pour it on everybody's sodas. So we were drinking at the arcade back when we were 12, 13. So
congratulations.
One of my people remembered the formula that booze plus video games equals more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love barcades, man. A lot of fun. Love to go in like a Dave and Buster's.
Oh, dude,
even though those games are crap, I mean, they're still more fun than not playing games.
I'm just totally excited to have a child now, which is a total excuse to go to Chuck E. Cheese and play skee ball.
Skee ball sucks at Chuck E. Cheese.
It's still fun.
Yeah, it is.
Skee ball is still skee ball.
Yeah. Well, you need an old school skee ball. Like if your skee ball is like digital but dials on it and things, it's the wrong skee ball. You got to go like Jersey Shore, like Ocean City, Maryland, Virginia Beach style, like Coney Island skee ball where everything's mechanical. And you just get those wooden balls you can beat somebody to death with. And then got a greased up wooden track and the little flippers that flip over to tell you the score, man. Yeah. You want to have a mechanical skee ball machine.
Yeah, absolutely. My last question before we kind of go into final thoughts here. What do you guys have a favorite multiplayer game memory? I know we talked a little bit about multiplayer games, but I think that's definitely the way games are going to be from here on out. Like the best successful game is going to be multiplayer, obviously. I think. But Drew, do you have a particular favorite multiplayer member, whether it be competitive or co-op?
I've got two, and they both come from the same time period of my life. My first apartment, we had 2 Xboxes, and we ran a system link cable through the wall. So we would have, when we were playing head to head, we'd have our own screen. All right. When we were playing, we'd have people over. We could play up to 8 people on Halo at the same time. Absolutely fantastic. That was a really great memory, really great times playing for shots. But we also had this game that we called Warm Up, and that's where you'd play Marvel vs. Capcom 2. You'd turn the turbo all the way up and you play shots for rounds.
Oh my God.
You'd be hammered in like 15 minutes, and then you go to the bar and you don't need to buy anything when you're there. It was really great. But yeah, man, that period of my life, I lived with my buddy Jim. We would just honestly, we would just drink and play games constantly. And Halo 2, those were the days. System Link, baby. LAN parties without
LAN party. That's what I was gonna say. LAN parties are
LAN parties without computer. Every day was a LAN party. Hop in.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we got really, really good at Halo. It was not a hard time.
I had a similar experience when I was in college. I had a buddy who was from the St. Louis area. We actually drove the 4 hours to go to his hometown, basically. And basically what he does is he has a basement in his parents' house, and he has like a bunch of computers down there. So he would just invite all of his old high school friends over, and they'd each bring their laptop. We pretty much just played StarCraft for a weekend.
Ooh.
And pretty much just cleared out like 2 or 3 cases of beer in the first night. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I would say recently, obviously playing, WWE 2K19 with, Drew, Chad, and Legend, teaming up with the great Legend is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against whatever random team that Drew and Chad would come up with. Like Drew, hey, let's be this team, and then he'd pick like one of the tag partners, and then like Chad would pick Batista. Like that's not the tag partner of like.
Yeah, that's true.
Ricky Morton or whoever you pick. Like, yeah, let's get the.
Can I change my answer to when he double choke slammed us and wrote a song about it?
Oh. Yeah, we got Legend so fired up on wrestling once he actually wrote a song about me and Drew. And
it was the day after.
Yeah,
I stuck with him until the day after. He was at work, picked up a guitar, filmed himself singing a song about double choke slamming us.
And I mentioned the Corbin versus Gulak feud that lasted about a year real time. That ended with a retirement match where I actually beat the Legend, and he just goes, "That wasn't supposed to happen." He was so mad. He couldn't use this awful, like Legend's gimmick is he'll pick like the real life worst wrestler possible and somehow be really good as that character. Yeah, you retire one off wrestler, and he brings in like Eric Rowan. Like, who wants to play as Eric Rowan?
Nobody.
Himself, who is Eric Rowan? Don't ask that question. Just move
There's
on
no reason for the guy to be in the game in the first place.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, just playing wrestling games with you guys. That's got to be another pick for me. But Andy, do you have a pick?
Do I ever have a pick? I have a pick that was life altering, if you will. 2002, probably one of the biggest MMORPGs that ever hit the market. And not long after that, I got out of the military. You get out of the military, you're looking for that camaraderie, right? That's something you're really
looking for a way to fill your time too.
Probably. You're living in a big hive full of worker bees. There's always somebody to see and visit. There's always somebody to hang out with or have a beer with. Well, then you get back home and you're by yourself. Final Fantasy XI took up the better part of 5 or 6 years of my life after that. While I worked and I had a job and I went to school and I did other things to grow myself, but my free time was spent playing Final Fantasy XI online. This game was the largest game I've ever played. I mean, you're talking about a game that you could spend an entire day in your own real life, just traveling from one point in this universe to another to get ready for something. You take vacation days and plan weeks around raid parties with your other friends. This was like the vice versa to Warcraft, right? This was Square Enix's Warcraft, basically. You had Warcraft on one end, you had Final Fantasy 11 on the other. And you could develop a battle scheme that as each person interacted and timed with each other, you could do chain reactions against world bosses that were massive. And when they hit, it was like better than any movie experience that I had with a ton of people. This is the first iteration of like voice over internet protocol where we were using like TeamSpeak clients and talking and organizing. Ton of camaraderie, made a ton of friends, had a great time. It's the first time I ever paid a subscription fee for a game, paid it for a very long time. And this game actually caused me to teach myself how to build computers. Back then, I played it on Microsoft Windows and played it on the best PC that I could build at the time. Then I realized I found a need to have 2 or 3 other accounts playing this game. I had a whole account that would just spend time crafting supplies and selling it to make money to fund my character, my main character. And then you had other side stuff. And I had 3 computers running in one room to play this game for a couple of years at one point. And it was so much fun. I'm sure there are a lot of other people out there that had a similar experience to that. And unfortunately, I don't know why I fell away from it. Maybe it was probably when you get to the end game, where you get to the very end game after putting all this time, the equipment it takes to play that game at that point becomes something so many people seek out. And you get one piece of equipment where you've got hundreds of people that are waiting for this one mob, as they called, or monster, to just spawn, drop one piece of equipment. There'd be hundreds of people fighting over it. And it was just like you'd spend weeks and months and you'd help other people gain this stuff. And then it's just seemed like some people, you'd almost never get your turn, or you couldn't get help to get something. And it became almost unobtainium to finish this game. That's literally what it became. It became a monthly bill to socialize with people.
Turn blue and fuck somebody with your head tail.
So that was the thing. Oh boy. It became unobtainium to be able to finish the game. And when you can't finish the game and can't finish the story, that's when I lost interest in it, honestly. But that game ran for a very long time and was probably the biggest MMORPG that I ever experienced. And I made a ton of cool friends there.
Nice.
I played a lot of City of Heroes when that first came out. Really fun MMO. Very, very much comic book based. Kind of pisses me off that it's not live anymore, because I think this community would be a really great group to play that game with.
Sure. I did have one more online story I wanted to tell, and it involves this game. It was a terrible game. It's called Alien Colonial Marines.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And this game, it was a gorgeous looking game. It had so much hype on an E3. So E3, they had a video of gameplay, and it looked amazing. And then it got delayed for like a year, and then it finally came out. And this game looked nothing like it did at E3. It looked so much worse when you got it at home and started playing it. But by God, like the online multiplayer, me and my buddies found so much fun to have in that multiplayer somehow. It was almost like they tried to at least steal the basics from Left 4 Dead, where you basically have a human team and like your zombie alien style team, where you're just, the extra bad guy characters. And we had a ton of fun playing as other characters, because usually anymore you get a Call of Duty, you have your AAA like Call of Duty, what have you, or your programmer's going to buy it, or your little 12-year-olds, and they're just going to wreck you somehow. You're going to suck at the game, you're going to get frustrated, and you quit. In this game, no one wanted to play it, so when me and a group of buddies all planned to buy it and actually had fun and kept playing, we were just wrecking everybody and like exploiting glitches and everything. So like, oh, we know we're going to disappear into this wall, so we disappeared into that wall so we could get that like stealth kill later with the alien. And we pretty much ran that game into the ground. Like, and eventually we drove ourselves away, because like the soundtrack, there's like one piece of music that plays over and over again.
Blow my mind.
Exactly. Yeah. except this one was like aliens. It's just like we made up our own lyrics to it because we had to hear it so many times, and it was just a ton of fun playing that. Like, yeah, and unfortunately, we can't replicate that experience anymore because number one, even if the server was still up, no one's playing that game. Who are we kidding? Like once every few years, like, man, it'd be sweet to like get a crew and play some Colonial Marines again. It's like that's not gonna happen. Who like what 4 idiots are gonna be on there for us to kill?
To the exact opposite point, when there's a game out that like everybody is playing, like when Modern Warfare 2 came out.
Oh yeah.
You knew that it wasn't going to be a problem for you to find a group of friends to play with because all of
absolutely. Yep. So, like, yeah, Joe Schmo, you find out he's a gamer. I'm like, hey, you play this game? Oh yeah, I bought it the other day. I've been looking for a crew to play with, and then all of a sudden, like, you got like a group of 8 guys on your team playing Modern Warfare with you. So no, I had very similar experiences with Modern Warfare 3 actually.
I missed the original Modern Warfare where they were able to make customized maps. Oh.
That was like a PC version, I think.
Yeah.
By the way, the story in that one, amazing. I love that first Modern Warfare story quite a bit. It's probably the best campaign they've ever done, in my opinion.
They say that the last Modern Warfare, like the last Call of Duty that came out, that the story mode is very good.
Interesting.
I didn't pay.
I want to get it at some point.
I play Warzone for free.
Yeah.
I'll wait and play that one for free somehow. But any final thoughts on video games before we move back into the world of comics here?
Oh my God, yes. Totally sticking with the PS4 Pro while I can. I got a lot of time to put into Last of Us and Last of Us 2. I really think going forward, I'm going to utilize console gaming as my escape from social media and connectivity when I want to just spend time on myself and disconnect from everything else. There are a lot of amazing story-based games out there to experience that I missed. I didn't pick up a PlayStation 3. I missed all of that because some of the things that Drew said and whatnot, and I wasn't in on that. There's a lot of those great games being remade. There's a lot of them that I haven't found yet. There's a lot more coming up for PS5 that I'm going to be able to play, but I'm definitely going to get back into online gaming in groups on PC at some point too, because there's just something great about smashing a ton of people with a keyboard and a mouse.
Andy, Drew. I want Andy to get Borderlands so we can go back and play some Borderlands. So we had fun playing Borderlands too. I think that would be an awesome game for Andy to get into. It's a shooter meets an RPG. You classes, every class has a bunch of different skill trees.
And it's got a sense of humor too.
It's got a great sense of humor, and when you shoot somebody in the head, the damage pops up and lets you know how much damage you did. It's really great. And again, if you have issues with seizures, don't even turn it on. But I think that like my thumbs are itching to get on the sticks right now. There are so many really great games out there. There are a lot of really great games in that free-to-play model, which are really affordable. Fantastic puzzle games out there. You got systems like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which like gives me free games to play on my console and on my PC. It's really, really killer. There's just so many different options out there that games are only going to get even better. I think that every time I go to somebody's house and they got an Oculus, I have a butt ton of fun playing VR. I don't have anywhere in my house to do it myself, or I probably would have bought one by now. But yeah, there's just so many different options. We didn't really even talk about the Switch, which has become like a monster system in and of itself, just for its portability and versatility, and it's good for all ages. And I haven't seen mine since Animal Crossing came out, and my daughter fell back in love with it. So there are just so many options as far as gaming. I play terrible games on my phone all day long when I'm supposed to be working. These are supposed to be escapes from reality, but really it's become reality at this point. I can't wait to hang up this call and play some more Warzone.
Yeah, for me, I can't wait to see where gaming goes in 2021. Like you said, you got new services out there on PlayStation 5. You got the Xbox Game Pass. They're getting more toward that. Like, I think they saw what happened to movies and TV shows with companies like Netflix rising up in the late 2000s and early 2010s, where it's like, well, they're going to like a monthly subscription model instead of, making you go out and buy these DVDs and Blu-rays. It's like, what if we go to a subscription model ourselves and, we cut out guys like GameStop and Best Buy, then we get all of the money and people are going to forget and they're going to give us all the money. But hey, as long as you give us all of the games, maybe that's going to be the way of the future. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to open up or limit, I guess, accessibility for people. So I can't wait to see what they're going to do next. I'm excited for my PS5. Hopefully we get some great games in 2021.
Excited for what?
George
what are you excited for?
But anyway, I'm excited.
PS5 there, big time?
Hey, big time, brah. But I'm excited for next week because next week, like I said at the top of the show, we're coming back. Modern Men, episode number 61. We're going to be reviewing Fantastic Four Unthinkable. It's by Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo. It's a phenomenal Doctor Doom story. It was my wild card pick. And I think we're going to be covering some of the best and worst of 2020. That's right. We're going to be recapping 2020, the year that was comic books. And we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and pretty much the ugly next week of 2020. And then I think we're going to follow up week 60. Was it 62? Oh, my God. I think we're going to start looking at the best of Modern Men for 2020. We're going to start talking about some of our favorite reads we talked about this last year, and maybe covering a couple of our favorite topics and maybe doing a revisit and maybe seeing if any of our opinions changed since some of those episodes.
You know what my favorite part of 2020 for Modern Men was, Carson?
What's that?
We're all out of crises.
0 hour? I've never seen a smile disappear so quickly. we're out of good crises. Now we got to read the bad ones, Drew. You want to read 0 hour? Armageddon?
Heroes and Crickets?
Final Crisis? Heroes and Crisis? I can keep throwing crises at you all day.
Let's read Death
Metal.
Let's read Death Metal, but make Andy read all of the one-shot tie-ins.
I have them all.
It's going to be 4 hours.
When there's no room left in hell. So, no, stand corrected. We're all out of good crises. So it can get worse. I feel like the more we read these great reads, we're just like slowly going downhill.
I think there's a lot more modern stuff that we haven't even tapped into.
I know. I'm kidding. But for the next poll, we're going to see if we have some undiscovered gold or some overhyped 90s tripe. So we've came up with this poll for week 62, and we're going to celebrate the end of 2020 by going back to the 90s for some reason. Why? Who knows? Who cares? But hey, we're going to get some great 90s image reads or maybe lack thereof. But I want to visit the golden age of Image Comics, I guess you could call it at this point. And we have 5 suggestions for the poll that we're going to upload after this recording.
The Chromium Age, if you will.
Yeah, I like the aluminum Chromium Age. I love it. But the first pick on the poll is Savage Dragon by Eric Larson. It's one of those reads, like, I kind of keep telling myself, like, I should probably at least read that once in my life. It sounds like it's super interesting, especially, like, the longer the story goes, because apparently the character ages in real time or something like that, and that piques my interest, but I at least want to read the initial run of it. So, Drew, have you ever had a chance to read any Savage Dragon?
Yeah, I read, like, the first 11 issues, I think.
Oh, okay.
Then I sold them to Mark BKR.
That's
like,
right. It's like his only comics, yeah.
Like, here you go, Mark.
Maybe we should invite Mark on that episode.
I just gave it to him. He was like, how much do I owe you? And I was like, here you go, Mark. Here are these books.
Maybe if Savage Dragon wins, we con Mark into being on Modern Men, and he can just sit there and
I don't
talk
think
about food. No, I'm not saying he's going to read them.
Yeah,
he can at least pretend, though. That'd be funny.
He lost that one bet, and I made him read Six Pack and Dog Welder, and he's like,
still
"Yeah,
waiting
it was
on
a
that.
comic book." He's yet to.
It was a comic book. Well, at least we should have at least a recording. So, choice number 2 is Gen 13.
Nice.
The original
Titties on
series. Yeah. So the genesis of J. Scott Campbell. So the next one, we're going back to Jim Lee on this one because, of course, Jim Lee worked on Gen 13, but he also invented Wildcats.
This one needs to win. This is like
I think this would probably be your chip shot here.
I think this is probably the best book out of everything we have listed, as far as most readable, best art. well to put together series here with Jim Lee at the helm.
I don't know. I think this next pick is definitely readable for sure. Witchblade.
Oh yeah, definitely readable, and there's lots of titties in that one too.
And then the last one, we kind of threw this one. It's like, we'll see how much our viewers truly like or hate us. And by the key word is hate here. We're throwing on Youngblood by Rob Liefeld.
There goes Chris Barrett's vote.
Oof.
On Youngblood.
Oof.
I kind of feel like out of spite, this one could win.
Oof.
But we'll see. I might not make it past the first issue on this.
Wait, what's that?
If it's Youngblood, we only have to read the first issue.
What's that? I think my horse is getting sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, the horses are all dead. The whole stable's gone at this point.
We can't go anywhere because our horses are dead.
We may have to cancel episode 60, whatever the hell it is. But yeah, that's going to be your poll for the final Modern Men of 2020.
Go Wildcats.
We're going to be talking about the best of 2020 and maybe the worst of 2020 all in the same episode. We'll see if Youngblood wins or not. But Drew, where can people find you?
You can find me right here on the Comic Core. I'll be doing a video this Thursday night with our good friends Chaos and Comics Misexplained, the Comic Core Comic Chat, where we will be discussing this week in comics, whether it be new comics, some news-ish stuff coming up, what we're looking forward to next week, and some recommended reads for you guys that are some of our best all-time stories we'll just throw out for you so you can pick them up and read. That's about it, man. Beyond that, DruManchu Comics on Twitter. I'll be around. I'm thinking about maybe trying to sell some books this week, so check my my Instagram and Twitter, and maybe we'll get some information about when I'm doing that. What
about you, Andy? Where can people find ComicManAndy?
Ooh, hit that giant @ symbol, ComicManAndy. And find me on all the social media platforms. I'm on Twitter now too. I hopped right into that giant dumpster fire and started an account recently. I'm there.
TwitterManAndy.
ComicManAndy.
It should be TwitterManAndy.
You guys can find me here every Monday night having a ton of fun with these guys. And I got my own channel where I will be on tomorrow for a Monday mail call. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been on. I've been taking some time off to myself and really relaxing and chilling. But we got a couple of sweet packages in, so I'm looking forward to that tomorrow.
As of right now, it's in the future, Andy. So people have already experienced your amazing package.
Oh, that's right. That is a good point. Forgot.
So just tell the people that you hope they enjoyed your package.
Yes, I hope they enjoyed it.
You can find me youtube.com/cwoodard19 as well as on Instagram and occasionally on Twitter. I don't do too much over there.
But... Instagram and Twitter?
Yeah, Instagram and Twitter.
Aren't you also cwoodard19 on your gaming consoles as well?
That's right. I am cwoodard19 on PlayStation. I am cwoodard19 on Xbox. I don't even know what I am on Nintendo. That doesn't. Friend codes are bullshit. But anyway, when it rains, it pours. I don't know. Sure, whatever.
Too many C Woodards.
No, I have all.
Next Sunday is it next Saturday? Next Saturday, right? Is Woodard Day?
Oh yeah, I have a birthday coming up.
Woodardstock 2020, baby. We're gonna be running live content all day on Woodard's birthday as a celebration of the Woodard.
I have to work. Have fun with that. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the worst part about the holidays. You have to work during your birthday.
True.
But anyway, big thanks, guys. Hopefully you find that one up one day. We'll see you next week.